Hi everyone, my name is Liz and I'm a staff psychologist at the Counseling Center. Thank you for tuning in to our second video for Black students at Towson University. In the first video, JD talked a little bit about what racial trauma is and gave some information on the psychological and emotional consequences of racial trauma. In this video, we're going to talk about how to cope with racism and racial trauma, particularly when we're in a time of such social and national unrest. So coping can actually look a lot of different ways depending on the person and the situation. It's important that coping addresses the needs of the person and/or the community in a way that reflects both respect and self-compassion. When we're thinking about coping, we want to think about taking both a personal and public approach because the trauma incurred by racial trauma or racism not only has an effect on individuals, but also an effect on groups and communities. The simplest definition of self-care is recognizing what you as an individual may need in a particular moment and finding ways to give yourself what you need. In order to do that in the context of coping with racism, it's important to monitor yourself for symptoms of stress and trauma and practice being gentle with yourself. Stress and trauma can show up differently for everyone, so recognizing your own personal signs that you're in need of self-care can make a big difference.
There are various symptoms that can show up in response to experiencing racism or racial trauma. The symptoms can range from things like anxiety and nightmares to feeling irritable or feelings of guilt that you haven't done enough. There can also be a lot of feelings of helplessness, feeling like there's nothing you can do, or feeling things like anger and rage. Another symptom can be depression or feelings of just this pervasive sadness. And there can also be hypervigilance, feeling very on edge, and flashbacks remembering the traumatic events that have happened. Some examples of self-care can include talking to people you trust, whether that's your friends, your family, your therapist. That might include setting aside times to debrief after events, or making a list of people you do feel comfortable talking to. Talking to others can help provide you with perspective, remind you of strides that have been made, remind you of ways that you can take care of yourself. Another example of self-care can be taking breaks from social media. Constantly seeing images and hearing stories of people who look like you being brutalized can not only be traumatizing, but can also feel overwhelming. Stepping back from social media gives you space to, again, remember strides and successes, and also remember that there are good things occurring. Another way to take care of yourself is just allowing yourself space to express your feelings and view them in a non-judgmental way. All of your feelings, whether anger, sadness, hopelessness, or grief, are valid, and it's important to express those in a healthy way, be that through journaling or artistic expression. Expressing your emotions in a healthy way prevents them from building up, so they don't come out in less healthy ways or even harmful ways. And finally, one of the most important aspects of self-care is actually recognizing your physical limitations. So making sure that you get enough rest and sleep, enough exercise, and also that you're eating a healthy diet.
Similar to self-care, community care is recognizing and addressing the needs of the community. The community can mean a group of you and your friends. It can mean groups of different Black students on campus. Community can mean a lot of different things. Coming together as a community to process events or talk about things that have happened can not only reduce an individual's sense of loneliness, but it can also help to reaffirm and reestablish collective goals.
One of the easiest ways to engage in community care is by taking care of yourself first. It's difficult to engage with and take care of other people if you haven't first engaged in your own self-care. Another way to engage in community care is by reaching out to other Black people in the spirit of love, empathy, and hope for the future. It's a good way to remind each other of how far we've come, to draw on the wisdom of our elders and ancestors for guidance, and to affirm that we will get through this latest assault on our humanity. And finally, another great way to engage in community care is by creating space for Black people to come together and engage in Black joy. Being kind and sensitive to the needs of other Black people and focusing on what we can do for ourselves and those we love is one of the greatest ways that we can again affirm our humanity and affirm the strength and joy that exists within our community.
Thank you so much for watching this video on coping with racism and racial trauma. We hope that you found it helpful. If you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or any of the other staff members at the Counseling Center, and we will see you in the video on activism.